This is the A to Z podcast. Expert insights on leadership, business, real estate, investing, and growth.
If you are taking an exam to get a certification or a license, you're going to benefit from this session. I've taken many exams over the years. Exams like CompTIA A++, Project Management Institute, PMP, real estate licenses, insurance, Series 6, SIE, Series 63, Series 65. Some of you who are not in the financial industry, you may be asking, what are these serious stuff? You're right, these are not serious like SEROUS series. No, serious like SERIES. And you need to pass these exams if you want to sell securities and also provide investment advisory. When I took these exams, I passed them on the first try. And whenever I meet someone who has taken these exams, one of the questions they ask me is, did you pass these exams? Was the first on the first try? And my answer always is, yeah. In most cases, they have a follow-up question. You must be a genius. And I said, or maybe you're very lucky. I'll say, or you may have some tricks. I say, I want to know those tricks. I don't have all of these. I have a process. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a process that I've used to pass these exams on the first try. Before we go, I have a couple of disclaimers. The first one is, look, I don't have off-chart intelligence. That's not why I passed these exams on the first try. I don't also have extraordinary luck for exam, or I don't have the magic wand. I don't have any trick. I have a battle-tested process that helped me to pass on the first try. And also, you need to know that with different people, those things that worked for me may not work for you. If any of these not resonating with you, don't use them, just dump it. And also, the process by itself is not the magic bullet. You need to have discipline. So don't take this process, go and take your next exam. And if you in case fail, I don't wish that for you, but if in case you fail, don't come back and tell me the process doesn't work. You have to have the discipline. To give you a little bit of context, as a PMP guy, as a project manager, professional, I treat everything like a project. Even if these small things, I treat them like a mini project. That's what I advise when I coach and when I train project managers. I tell them that you have to treat everything as a project. Many organizations and teams, they don't exploit and take advantage of project management principles that benefited these mega projects. Me, no. If I have a wedding, I would have used it as a mini project. If I have, for example, let's say a meeting, I would have used that as a mini project. Exams are mini projects for me. That's how I treat them. When I have an exam, it's a project. As you know, projects, they should have what? A goal, milestones, deliverables, deadline, stuff like that. I do the same thing when I take an exam. I don't want to waste my time. I'm going to be very focused. Of course, I have had different time zones. For example, I had 3 months one time. I had also 2 days to take an exam. You can imagine the pressure. It doesn't matter how many time that you have before you take your next exam. Treat it as a project, a mini project, and decide what you want to achieve to pass it on the first try. What kind of deliverables that you have based on the stage that you're going to pass in that project. In my case, I have 4 stages and phases I need to pass to get that done. These are the study period, the practice period, the 11th hour period, and the closing, the exam day. And I'm going to share with you what I've been doing under each stage to achieve my goal. The study period, this is very tricky for some people. They take like 2/3 of their time to study. I don't do that. I take less than 1/4 time. What I do is I quickly read the manual, online or in print. It could be 100 pages or maybe 200, 300 more. I quickly read that. Sometimes I may take a week if I have more time, or I may take like half a day or a day to read that quickly. And while I'm studying, I take quick notes. I will explain to you why I do that. But these notes are mainly for formulas, numbers, dates, percentage, and so on. These are some of the things I need to memorize when I go for the exam. During the study, I also engage the practice phase. Even in project management, for example, the monitoring phase and the stage, you still monitor during initiation and also during planning. You want to make sure that what you are planning is according to the baseline that you have. You don't want to go too far. And therefore, what I do is while I'm studying, let's say I finished chapter 1, I take some questions. Most of these educational companies, they give you these question banks. And what you do is you finish chapter 1, take some questions. You know where you stand when it comes to that chapter. You go to chapter 2, you do the same thing. You're done. Once I'm done studying the course, I have maybe 5 to 10 pages notes that I have taken. I will never go back to the manual unless I have a huge difficulty about a concept. Normally, I have taken notes. I may have those 5 to 10 pages. I go back to read from those notes that I have taken. During practice, what I do is I use simulations. I test the time, like whether I could finish on time, and also I stress test my knowledge. If you study the course and just go and take the exam, you haven't stress test yourself. The exam gonna stress test you, and you don't want that to happen. I like what Mike Tyson said. Everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. I don't want to be punched in the face in the exam room. No, I want to be punched. Before I go there, I take simulations. When I take these practices, I could be able to see where I am. Initially, I may score like 60, which means practically, I may not pass if I go and take that exam as soon as I'm done reading the manual. That's why I told you that I don't have off-chart intelligence. That's not why I pass on the first try. But what I do is I track my progress. My goal at the end of the practice phase is to achieve 85 or above. If I do that, what happens is that when I go there for the exam, I'm sure I'm going to pass it. Most of these exams, they require you to score 70 or something, which means my milestone for the studying stage is those notes that I have taken. The milestone for the practice period is me scoring 85 or above. As you can see, I could measure my success. Here is a stage 3. This is the 11th hour stage. It could be 1 week before the exam, 1 day before the exam, a few hours before the exam, depending on the time you've had. I treat this very, very, very carefully. I do a couple of things. One thing I do is I continue to take simulations. If I have time, I take simulations and review those questions I missed. I also read the notes that I have taken, and I come up with a one pager during that. That's my milestone. I want to come up with a one pager by taking some notes, because by that time, I remember most of the notes that I have taken. Maybe there are some formulas, some dates, some numbers that I need to memorize. I just need one pager, which I'm going to read before I enter into the exam room. Of course, don't sneak that one pager into the exam room. You're going to be banned forever. Just before you get there, I'll explain to you when I talk about the exam date. During that 11th hour, the date before the exam, I also do my homework. I go and read the instructions. Where is this test center? If it is far, I need to get up early. In most cases, I set up my exams in the afternoon to avoid any traffic. And also, if in case I'm not ready, I need to read some of the concepts or some of the math and so on, I have time to do that before I go for a test. During the preparation in the 11th hour stage, I also try to figure out whether there is parking, whether there is traffic, and I go in Google trying to figure out. Sometimes I call to the center and asking questions. Do you have parking? How many minutes before should I get there? How many identity verifications you're looking for? Sometimes they clearly tell you just need one identity verification, one identity that's enough. But sometimes they ask you two. Sometimes they may want to see a picture on your ID or a signature of you. You don't want to figure out that on the exam date. You don't want to do that. You want to do that during the preparation phase, a day before. Sometimes you may need to drive there and figure the place out. I used to do that in the past. I don't do now. I'm more confident. I have experience now. This is the preparation phase, very, very important, equal to the exam day. Here is what I do on the exam day. The first thing I do is I sleep well, I get up early, and if I have to take some exam questions, I will do that if I have time. Otherwise, I drive there. I want to get there 1 hour before the exam time. There could be traffic, there could be accident, there could be something, and I want to have enough time. Of course, when I get there an hour, sometimes I go to the exam center. I know where it is, but I want to verify. I park my car, go to the exam center where it is, whether there is a line or not. And then once I am clear where I'm going to go, I come back to my car because I still have time. I can go to the exam center 15 minutes before the time. I sit in my car, and what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to read that one pager. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to read that one pager. I'm going to memorize these things and leave them in the car. Don't sneak them. I leave them in the car. I go to the exam center. I'll be checked. And once I get in, you have to double check this. Once I get in, if they give me paper and pen, I quickly write what I memorized. Remember the one pager? Try to, especially formulas, numbers, dates, because as Mike said, when you're punched in your face, you're going to forget about your plan, your formula, your dates, your numbers, your percentage. That's why I make sure that I write down these things quickly. But some exam centers, they may not allow you that. They actually have a negative name for that. Dumping is not allowed, which means they don't allow you to write anything on the paper before the exam starts. Even in that kind of situations, and if I have a lot of formulas and math to remember, I start the exam, and then I take my time from my exam, and I start to write these formulas, numbers, dates, and so on. things I suspect I may forget if I'm stressed out in the exam down the road. When I take the exam, here are a couple of principles that I have. I don't spend more than 1 minute on a question. If I don't know that question, I don't want to tax my time. Even if I take 2 minutes on that question, I may miss it because I don't know it right away. What I do is I read the question, quickly read the answers. I know I'm not sure. I know I don't know it. What I do is I answer by guess, of course. I answer and mark. Some people, they spend like minutes on one question. They're not even sure. Now they are stressed out. They're fussing about it, and they destroyed their chance. At least they may be thrown off with that one question. That's why I see the question, I don't know it, I answer and I mark it. Some people, what they do is they don't answer, but they mark it. What if you don't have enough time? If you marked it and you answered it, at least you took your chance. Yes, you're guessing, but who knows? You may get it. If it is a multiple choice, you have like 1/4 chance for you to get that. Why not answer it and then mark it? That way you could be able to take advantage. Let's say I know the answer. I quickly answer. I don't overthink about it. Sometimes you overthink about it, you come back and change. I don't advise that. During the exam day, while I'm taking, I also forget everything else. I focus on the exam and I take one question at a time. I don't spend more than 1 minute per question. If I don't know the answer, I guess it and move on. If I have extra time, I come back and revisit those questions. Here is one thing I have noticed. Sometimes, it's not all the time, sometimes the easiest questions are down the road. Like 10, 15 questions, easy you could have answered, but you don't have time because you spend a lot of time on harder questions. Questions you don't even not sure whether you have the answer or not. That's why I make sure that I finish all the questions. And if I have time, I go back and answer those marked questions. If you do these, there is a chance for you to pass on the first try. Try it. If it works, practice it, and also share it to other people. If it doesn't work, what's the big deal? You dump it, use another method. My advice is don't wing it. You need to have a process. Treat it like a mini project and you see result right away. If you are taking financial exams and if you have any question, reach out to me. And also if you are in the financial industry or if you want to join the financial industry, please reach out. I want to collaborate with you and I look forward to working with you. Thank you for watching. Until I see you with another live session, have a great time. Thank you.